Well, we're live in the Bassick home right now. That was tough to watch, tough to finish up. Mavs get totally destroyed. I know I got one guy or girl in the chat right now. You can chat me up for your questions. Not much to say on this one. Totally got destroyed. Nothing went well. Luka's hurt. I don't know if he's going to get healthy, but he has to be Michael Jordan in this series. He has to be LeBron James in this series. He has to be a basketball god in this series for the Mavericks to have a chance. And he wasn't tonight. And I'll say this, and, I'll reiterate this. Thanks, as people are joining in a little bit here, is I don't like when I say on the fan, and I'm too harsh on the Mavs role players. I am. I shouldn't say some of the things I've said. But I don't know, guys, when you're watching this, and I'm a big Mavs fan, I want Dorian Finney-Smith to be great. I want Maxi Kleber to be great. I want Tim Hardaway Jr., who I think we're going to give a lot of money to in the offseason. I want these guys to be better than I think they are. But when I watch games like this in the playoffs, or I watched the game 3 the other night in the playoffs when Luka did have 44, 9, and 9. I know he wasn't perfect. He stunk from the free throw line. He couldn't make, he's worse than Shaq right now from the line. But I just don't think these guys are good enough. And that's a lot of pressure on Luka to do everything. He has to score all the points, and when he doesn't score all the points, he has to give everybody an unbelievable look to score the points. And Porzingis got off to a nice start tonight, scored the first 4 points. But, if you get a little bit physical with him, if you push him around a little bit, it can ruin him a little bit. The other thing, too, is this isn't Porzingis' fault, and he can get frustrated with this. If he doesn't get the pass from Luka, Dorian Finney-Smith can't pass a basketball in the NBA. He just can't. He can pick it up and then be like, what do? I got to find an outlet. Let me just throw it back to Luka. Kleber can't really pass the basketball. Hardaway can't pass the basketball. Brunson's okay at it. But when Porzingis wants the ball, he can't hold his position for a long time. So when he does get the position, it needs to immediately be given to him with a good pass. There's only one guy on the team that can do it. Brunson can't feed the post. Maybe it's because, he's grown up in the era of basketball at his age that, you never fed the post at Villanova. You've never had to feed the post with the Dallas Mavericks. So if Porzingis gets post position on a littler guy, there's only one human on this basketball team that can get the ball to Porzingis in that situation, and it's Luka. So I don't know, how much do you post? Go post down there, Porzingis. Yeah, I say that sometimes too. But if no human being can get him the ball, what do you do in that situation? What do I do if I post and I can hold the position for 2 seconds max, maybe 3 with your Porzingis? Then I'm going to keep getting pushed out, or they're going to get in front of me, and then nobody can get me the ball because they're not talented enough to get the ball to the post. They're just not. I love them, but they're just not. The other thing, too, in this series, look, we have no depth on this team. I know people say they have depth on the Mavericks, but let's look at it. Richardson comes off the bench. He can give you 15 minutes, maybe 20 if he's going well. Jalen Brunson is a guy. He's a good guy off the bench for 20 minutes a night. But then Kleber's a 20-minute-a-night guy. Dorian Finney-Smith's a 20-minute-a-night guy. I was kind of hoping – I'd love to see the chat. I don't know if I did something to mess up the chat. Here we go. I'm seeing the chat now. Top chat. Good. But we don't have depth. Powell can't – like when I get mad at – I'm not mad at Powell. Powell just – I didn't give him $12 million. The Mavericks decided to give him $12 million, which is a lot of money for a guy who's very limited in his game, even before the injury, and he's more limited with the injury. But we have 2 bench players, and that's it. Willie Cauley-Stein can't play. I know he was a high draft pick. He's a guy in the NBA. Burke has been released. Like, I was hoping Josh Green would play the majority of the fourth quarter, and that's very hopeful to think that a kid who played a little bit at Arizona and a little bit in the NBA this year could then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter look like a guy who could contribute in this series. And I pray to God he can contribute in the future because he is 6'7" and he is athletic, and we need players like that on this team. But that's for future. Let's look at the chat here. I don't want to do this too long. It was ugly. I honestly don't know what the Mavs fans see in Kleba. He's barbecue for Kawhi. Kleba is I think Kleba would – teams would want Kleba. If he was on the Clippers, Kleba would play 12 to 20 minutes a night. But to your point, he's not better than Marcus Morris. They're different. I don't think he's better than Batum. Don't think he's better than Zubac. Those are their 3 big guys that they play, and he has to play the majority of our big guy minutes. Luka was hurt. I know. I feel like he gave up a little early in the third. Other guys running around trying to make plays, and he was stationary. Thoughts? I think he was hurt. And if he doesn't get back to 100% or where he can be a 40-point triple-double guy, I don't think we can win another game. I don't know if you guys heard Charles Barkley at halftime say, I think Clippers are a front-running team, and he thinks they're going to win the next 2 games. It's tough right now. Steve Nash said it a long time ago. After you lose a playoff game, a lot of people, the media, the fans, we're never going to win one in this series. Then if you win, we're never going to lose. And after the first 2 games, I thought the Mavs were going to sweep this thing. I thought they were going to come home, and that 30-11 start the other night looked like it was going to happen. But since that point, it's been all Clippers, and the Mavs have had no response. I know you're saying here Kleba is overrated defensively. I think he's a little bit hurt. He's playing on a bad Achilles. But I hear you. He's a guy that's a 12 to 20 minute a night guy, and we have to play him 30 plus minutes because that's just our depth. We don't have much depth. Rick Carlisle has decided Powell cannot help in this series. And my opinion, I hate it because I think Powell's a great person, works hard. He's not a rotational player in the NBA for quality teams. He is when you're winning 35 games a year in 2016, 2017, 2018. Dwight Powell, hey, you win 30 games a year. It's fine, man. That Dwight Powell, you see but what if I want to win 55 games a year? What if I need playoff minutes? No. Is everybody going in this like, hey, man, Powell wasn't even in the bubble. Now he's here. Rick has said he ain't here. He's not good enough to play here. This is why I say don't pay Tim Hardaway Jr. He's too inconsistent. I think he's going to get $20 million a year from somebody, and I think it's going to be the Mavs. I think they're going to give him 4 for $80, and maybe that'll end up being a mistake. He's making 18 this year, so it's not much of a increase. It'll be a little bit of an increase, but he's a gunner. He's a streaky shooter, and I think the Mavs like him. I like him. Maybe he'll get hot again. Maybe he'll get hot on Wednesday night. Finney Smith, who was hot in game 1, that's not who he is. When he's great, he's 2 of 5 from the 3-point line. Like a great night for Finney Smith is 2 of 5. When he goes 4 of 5, that he never does that. He did it in game 1. Thank God he did. We won the game. A lot of it was based off of him doing that. But, he's really a, 2 of 6, 2 of 5 guy. That's what he is from the 3-point. Wide open. He's 2 of 5, 2 of 6. That's what Finney Smith is. Maybe he can be better than that. Mavs fans, we were not sweeping Kawhi. He's arguably the best player in the league. This series was always going to be a grind. Hey, I agree with that. Hopefully the Mavs can win Game 5. I think if they lose Game 5, it's going to be tough. Maybe this ends up being the Houston Rockets series, except we're the Rockets in 2005, where you win 2 in Dallas. Dallas goes and wins 2 in Houston, and then home court plays out. Dallas wins Game 5 and Game 7. Houston wins Game 6. Maybe that'll be the case in this situation. Is KP the only max player who can't carry a team besides Wiggins? Well, Wiggins isn't a max player. Wiggins is a little over $20 million a year. So Wiggins did not get maxed out. That's probably for another discussion, but KP's not a number 2 guy on a championship team. He's just not. He can't take over a game on his own. He's physically. I said this when I got a little bit of heat for this, and I didn't mean it in a bad way, but it's taken bad because of the player I'm comparing him to. A day or two after the Mavs traded for Kristaps Porzingis, I remember being in Atlanta for the Super Bowl, and I said, you know what he looks like to me when I watch a lot of his games in New York, when I started, okay, we traded for him, let me go back and find games that are on YouTube or on NBA, things that I can watch. I said, you know what? He's a better version of Sean Bradley. And people are like, what? And I'm like, physically you can push him around, but he's skilled. He's very skilled, and he's probably more skilled than Sean Bradley. In today's game, you can't be as physical as you could in Sean Bradley's time in the NBA. But, to me, he's a better version of Sean Bradley. We'll see. I mean, in this series, he got off to a hot start. Tonight, the numbers were the numbers, but he can't take over a game, And to all you guys and girls, if you can't take over a game, it's tough to pay that much money. I do think with his talent and his skill level and other teams that have issues, I do think we can trade him in the offseason. But hopefully he plays a great Game 5 and Game 6 and we win those 2 games. And it's like, I can't believe you want to trade him or anything like that. But I don't think KP's the number 2 guy to run with Luka. And we'll see, what the Mavericks think about it going to the future. They need a Coach Ballsack pep talk. Maybe I'll do that Wednesday, but I'm pretty down on this one. I can't believe we got blown out. Austin says, Mike, I'm sad. Our defense, Gilberto, we're just not. I hate it. I hate saying this. We're just not good enough. We're not good enough to probably compete with the Utahs and the Lakers and Denver if they're totally healthy. I wanted Denver for this round. I just thought without Jamal Murray, we had a better chance. Right now, the Clippers decided to do multiple things that have worked tremendously in this series, and I don't know what to do. First, they went smaller. They are playing more physical, and they are playing faster. We do not like to play fast. All those crap teams that beat us this year, Sacramento, Houston, in certain situations, Oklahoma City, I think we sat out Luka and KP in one of those games we lost. When teams play fast, when those young teams that are worse than us play fast, we do not like it. And they started playing faster. And when LA starts playing faster, the Clippers here, we don't play well against fast teams. The bad teams we don't play well against. So now this is a really good, talented team. Kawhi's one of the best in the game. Paul George in these last 2 games has played like, people thought he could play. Maybe he'll go into a funk in LA. I don't know, but they're more talented than us. They're deeper than us. And now they figured out our kryptonites, our weaknesses. And I don't know if we have a match because we tried Boban. It kind of worked, but it didn't really make much of a difference. We're not deep. We don't have depth. We don't have much to go to. Rick is trying his best with, hey, Luka, can you be Michael Jordan in Boston and go for 63? Hey, Luka, can you be LeBron James and score 23 points straight in the fourth quarter against the Detroit Pistons? That's what we need Luka to do. Hey, Luka, can you keep giving wide open shots, and can these guys make them? They're closing out pretty hard now. The Clippers are doing a better job of closing out, and Luka's hurt, so they didn't have to worry about Luka as much tonight. Let's just do this for a few more minutes here. Sean Ireland, I just want to see how KP and Luka do without Rick. I don't think Rick's an issue here. I think he's more of a solution. I do think that going into this series, I said the Mavs can't lose. Maybe I've already said this tonight, but I'll say it again. Either they lose this series and they make massive changes to this roster around Luka because they go, look, we did it last year in the bubble. We did it this year in playoffs, and this team is not close to good enough. And I know you can't trade everybody, and I'm not saying the Mavs would trade everybody. But remember the Mavs, they go to the NBA conference finals, and they have Hardaway – and they have Van Exel and they have LaFrance. And before that, they won a playoff series and they had Juwan Howard, and they traded Juwan Howard and other pieces to go get Nick Van Exel and Rafe LaFrance. After a year and a half of doing that, they said, all right, this isn't working. It's not going to ultimately work. And, it was a bust move, but they kept moving. They went and got the Antoines, Walker, and Jameson. That went really bad. They lose Nash. They go get Terry. They go get Stackhouse. They go get Devin Harris. And then after a year or so of that, they're like, that's not working. Let's go get Eric Dampier. And they kept changing, and they went and got Jason Kidd and Caron Butler, and just go down the list, Sean Marion and Tyson Chandler, and it finally worked. Is if they lose this series, I do think Mark and Donnie will make a lot of trades, including trading Porzingis. So that's where I say they can't lose. If they lose this series, they make major changes to change this roster. If they win this series, then these young players, these are, they're not young. A lot of these guys are – Hardaway Jr. is 29. Dwight Powell's 29. Maxi Kleber's 29. Josh Richardson's 27. That's not a young team. That's not a whole bunch of guys 25 and younger. Porzingis is young. Luka's super young. Brunson's 24, I believe. So he's young. But – a lot of these guys on the court are not young. They're actually in their prime. So I think that if they win this series, great. These guys proved me wrong, and they just need a few tweaks to be a championship team. But if they lose this series, I think the Mavs are going to try to make major changes around Luka. They have to trade KP, D-Money. I think if they lose this series, they have to. And I don't think it's going to be a pretty trade. I don't think the Mavs fans are going to be like, that looks like a trade we won. But I think the win will be is that we move forward without Porzingis. Crazy to think this is the coach's fault. The roster needs to be overhauled. That's from Conrad. I agree with you there. That's my opinion. With that, gosh, our offense is our defense. I agree with that. They aren't making shots. They're screwed. Look, Derek Harper said it. If you don't want to, take my word, Derek Harper has said, this team lives or dies by the three, and if they don't outshoot their opponent, they have no chance. They have no chance to win unless we are crazy great from the three-point line against the good teams. So it gives us a chance, gives us a great chance to win. I'd say 15, we still lose. 15 of 40 from three, we lose. 20 of 40, we win. Anything in between, we have a chance. That's what this series boils down to. But they're closing out hard on our guys now. Hardaway's always been a streaky three-point shooter in his career. He's been good this year, better, his best ever. But right now, he's back into a funk. These last two games, 4 of 14 last game. Tonight, what the hell? I don't care about the stats. We just got our ass hammered. We just got blown out, and nobody could do anything, including Luka, because he was hurt. Luka was our best player by far, but he wasn't, his normal self. Oh, gosh. Anything more? They don't play well versus fast teams. I've said that. Yep. That's including Richardson. They've been, guys, this doesn't look good. But maybe after, when the Clippers lost 2, I was super confident. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I shouldn't have been overconfident. I thought the Mavs were going to take this series in 4. I thought that that game 3 was such a critical game. I think they could have destroyed their confidence and just had them packing up and wanting the season to end and wanting Kawhi to be like, should I even be? I know I want to be in LA, but I don't want to be a Clipper anymore. But that's all changed. After 32-11, Luka going out to get his rest, everything changed. And I don't blame Rick. You know, it was 32-11. You got to rest Luka some. I mean, you just have to. And maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he looks at it and goes, I should have kept Luka in to just try to be up by 20 at the end of the first and then sit Luka out for 7 minutes to start the second quarter, but be up by 20. But, you know, that's hindsight 2020. He took them out. They go on the major run. You're only up by 3 at the end of 1. And from that point on, the Mavericks have not had any momentum in this series. It's funny how bad this team – it's not funny, but they just are horrible at home. And hopefully that'll change next year. But right now, there is no home court advantage for the Mavericks. I was there the other night. We couldn't have been louder. We couldn't have, worked our team more to try to help them out, and you still lose by 10. Tonight, I'm not there, but, the crowd sounded good, but you're down by 9 after 1. You're down by 16 at halftime. What do you want the crowd to do then? Hey, keep going, guys. So there's no home court advantage for this team. It's weird, but there just isn't. And I don't have much else. Let's see. Marcellus, I haven't read anything you have said. Let's see here. Team made a concerted effort to upgrade the defense in the offseason. Was the Curry-Richardson trade a mistake? I don't think it mattered much. If you go look at Curry with the Philadelphia 76ers, he's averaging 12 a game. He's a much better shooter than Curry. Richardson's a much better defensive player. Richardson had a major part in us winning game 2. Curry obviously had a major part in us winning a game in the bubble last year, playoffs-wise. So I don't want to look at that and go, oh, if we wouldn't have made that trade, we'd be destroying the Clippers. I don't know. Hardaway's a bad defensive player. He's a good offensive player. He's a bad defensive player. Luka, I think, is an average defensive player and an unbelievably great, historic offensive player. Porzingis is a bad defensive player. And then above average offensively. I'm not going to take that away from him, but he's hurt all the time. He's unreliable. He's physically weak. This is not the type of game he wants to play, and this is his first taste of the playoffs for the most part. 4 games here. He played a few last year, but we're just not very good defensively. Dorian Finney-Smith is a solid defensive player. I do think Kleber's a solid defensive player. Powell's a horrible defensive player. Richardson's a solid defensive player and a bad offensive player for us right now. Good in game 2, but 3 and 4 were not good. So, that's where we lack depth. And so for me, when it comes to another topic for another day, when we trade Porzingis, we're not going to get our number 2 player for trading Porzingis. I would be shocked if we do. But can we get 2 average players for him? That's what I'm hoping. Can we send him to Sacramento for Marvin Bagley and a sign and trade for Rashawn Holmes? They're getting a better player. We're getting Bagley, who's hurt all the time. Hopefully he can be healthy here. He's athletic. Holmes is athletic, a rebounder. That's what I'm looking for in this offseason, is to trade Porzingis and do something like that. These are risk trades. I'll throw this out on the fan in the next few days, especially if we lose. We have to look more at the offseason. But, can you send him to Orlando for Wendell Carter Jr.? The Mavs loved him in that draft that they traded up for Luka. I believe Rick Carlisle was on record at one point saying if they would have just stuck at 5, Wendell Carter Jr. most likely would have been the pick. So that means they did really like him out of Duke. And then you throw in Jonathan Isaac, who's coming off of injury, but 6'10", athletic guy who can speed up the game. Porzingis is better than both of those guys if he's healthy and totally engaged and ready to go. But anyways, different stuff. This was game 4. Not competitive at all. Scared that we're going to just lose the next 2. But I do think that would be a major wake-up call for Donnie and Mark to make major changes to this roster. And so that's why I say we can't lose. If we do lose this series, I do think major changes will be made around Luka. If we win the series, then we are better than I think, and we just make a few tweaks here and there, and we roll on with this group of guys. The Dog 157, love you, Mike. Thanks, man. And laughed me off at this at the start of the year before the season started. I watched video of Pistol Pete Maravich. Pistol Pete Maravich, since I'm on YouTube, I'm doing this. Pistol Pete Maravich would do this. He would take a dribble and he'd step into it and shoot the free throw. And then he'd get the ball and he'd step back, get the ball, 1, 2, dribble in, boom, and shoot the free throw. I asked Donnie Nelson about that. I said, man, Pistol Pete Maravich is arguably the greatest shooter of all time. I know that there's no three-point line, but he's arguably one of the greatest shot creators, shot makers, outside shot in the game of all time. He didn't stand on the free throw line and just shoot. He actually stepped into the free throw. He didn't jump, but he stepped into it like a 1-2 step. And Donnie laughed me off like, hey, moron, you're a baseball guy. We're fine. We don't need that. Well, man, think outside the box a little bit here. He looks like he has glue on his shoes at the free throw line. Take the glue off. Have him step into it. But, that's a baseball player. Probably doesn't know any better, I guess. But, you study stuff. You watch Pistol Pete Maravich do it. You don't have to stand at the line. You can actually step into it. But, all right, guys, girls, it's 11:35. It was a tough one. And Luka's step back free throw. I don't even know if that's legal. I guess you can stay behind the line and then step back even further. But, what's funny is he's really good around the free throw line at 15 feet. He's just really bad at free throws. And we're not going to win this series if he's that bad at the free throw. Everything needs to go right for us to win another 2 games in this thing. And Luka shooting 80% from the line, getting to the line 10 times and making 8 out of 10. The rest of the team shooting 80% from the line. That has to happen in Game 5. You have to get to the line 10 times. You have to make 8 of them, Luka. The team has to get to the line another 15 times and make 12 of 15. If that doesn't happen, we're not going to win. But like I said, I want to take this as a no-lose situation. If we lose, we trade a lot of these players. We start doing a lot of things around Luka differently than what we're doing. If we win 2 games, that meant guys stepped up into major situations and major roles, and you feel better about keeping the majority of this team together. All right, guys? Hey, I love the Mavs. If you stuck around for it and you're one of the 25 people in here, you love the Mavs too. I want them to be great. I want things to be better. Tonight was the worst. Hopefully Luka can get healthy and guys can be better than they are, or better than I think they are. And Kleba can have an awesome start to a game, or Dorian Finney-Smith can't miss, or Tim Hardaway Jr. can go for 30, or Porzingis can actually step into a number 2 role and do what Paul George did tonight, or did the other night. But that's it, fellas. Thanks for your time. Maybe I'll do this Wednesday night. If they lose by 40, I might not do it. All right, man. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the other side.